I had connectivity issues.
Thank you for joining, actually. So just give me a few minutes. I'm just live streaming. So once I...
Since we are late, shall I begin with the prayers?
Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to His Holiness Candramauli Swami's Candramauli Swami's daily call. So today's speaker is Her Grace Sri Devi Mataji. We are very fortunate to have Mataji today on the call to enlighten us. Mataji, please take over. I'll share the verse. It's Bhagavad Gita 7.7, right, Mataji?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
My humble apologies, my humble obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavi and Vaishnavi. Anja kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my humble obeisances again and again to all of you who have been patiently waiting online, and I humbly beg for your blessings so that I may be able to do justice to the service that has been given to me. I have chosen to speak on verse Bhagavad Gita 7.7 because it's a very instructive and a very beautiful verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So this is the start of the 7th chapter, practically the first few verses. And it is so important for us to dwell deeply on the meaning, on the purport of these verses, because actually this 7th chapter begins the most confidential part of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Bhakti Yoga. The first 6 chapters are Karma Yoga. The middle 6 chapters, which of course begins with this 7th chapter, is Bhakti Yoga, and the last 6 chapters are Dhyana Yoga. So Krishna is explaining in this 7th chapter, and right from the very first verse, he's telling Arjuna, you can know me in full, free from all doubt. You just listen to me. Touch Renu. He's saying like this. And now he explains about the material nature, himself, living entities, how everything is working. Bhumi, Nalo, Apur, Vayu. He's explaining about the 8 gross and subtle energies, where the living entity is situated, like this. And then now he comes to this particular verse where Krishna is explaining everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. It's a very beautiful verse, and it goes like this. Matta parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre mani gana iva. Translation and purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Purport. There is a common controversy over whether the Supreme Absolute Truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the absolute truth is a person. That the personality of Godhead is the supreme absolute truth is also the affirmation of the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha. That is, the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the absolute truth is the supreme person, the cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. beautiful Brahma Samhita prayers declares emphatically that he is the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.10, Tato yad uttarataram tad arupam anamayam ya etad vidur amritaste bhavanti athetara dukkham eva piyanti. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is the transcendence who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalist puts more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge as described in the Brahma Samhita quoted above. Other verses in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad substantiate this as follows. And I will just read the English because we are really had a late start. So let's just go to the English. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to that Supreme Person because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest and he is greater than the greatest. Aniyor, Aniyan, Mahato, Mahiyan. That means smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree and he illumines the transcendental sky as a tree spreads its roots. He spreads his extensive energies. From these verses, one concludes that the supreme absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all pervading by his multi-energies, both material and spiritual. So Srila Prabhupada has come to teach us that God is a person. His name is Krishna, and he is Bhagavan, full in 6 opulences: strength, wealth, beauty, wisdom, fame, renunciation, and he's the highest of all. He's higher than everyone else. There's nobody equal to him. There's nobody above him. He himself declares, there's no truth superior to me. I'm the topmost. Have no doubts about this. So when Prabhupada came, he came in an atmosphere of such atheism and such voidism and so much impersonalism. But Srila Prabhupada was like a lion. He said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You should surrender unto him because you're nothing but a small part and parcel of the divine. And so your duty is to lovingly serve the divine by developing a relationship with him. Now, the impersonalists get very scared of this. They want to merge into the Brahma Jyoti. They're very frightened at the thought of God having a form, because it means that they also have to take a form and they also have to serve. They want to just annihilate all their miseries and just merge into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. So they balk at this concept of God. But Srila Prabhupada was very firm about this. And he said, Krishna is a person and we should worship him. And then he explains, who is Krishna? Where does he live? Who are his associates? What does he like to eat? What is his paraphernalia? Who are his associates? What are his pastimes? And how sweet everything about Krishna is. Srila Prabhupada gave this explanation. Why? Because he wanted to firmly destroy voidism, impersonalism, atheism, and all these various isms. At one point, Srila Prabhupada said, this ism, that ism, that ism. We want only Krishnaism. Because in those days, there was so much, the counterculture movement, communism. We should have this, we should have that, we should have socialism, we should have this ism, that ism. So Srila Prabhupada said, what is all this ism? Get to know Krishna. Once you know Krishna, you will know everything. You will know who you are. You will know what you're supposed to do. And you will develop your loving relationship with him, which is what this whole human form of life is actually meant for. To develop, to rekindle, to reawaken, our dormant, loving propensity for Krishna. Because ultimately, the soul has only two needs, to give love and to receive love. And that attains its perfection in our relationship with Krishna. So the impersonalists, they don't believe this. They say that look at this particular verse, and Srila Prabhupada quotes that word. They pick on the word arupa. But here, the explanation is he has no material form. That means he has a fully spiritual form. And here the description, it is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. That is Krishna. Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. But the impersonalists don't like to believe that. They want to merge into the Brahmajyoti. But this is a very dissatisfactory state of affairs. Let's say you meditate, you perform all kinds of austerities and penances, and you grit your teeth and you just keep on meditating, perform severe austerities and penances, and finally you reach impersonal Brahmajyoti. What can you expect? It's like being in a huge room all alone. There is no one there. There's no one to talk to. There's no one to have any exchanges with. And therefore, it is an untenable position for the soul. And so they fall down again into the material energy. So they may claim, Jagat Mithya, this world is false, all this is illusion, there is no form, there is this, there is that. But even after attaining the Brahmajyoti, back again to the material world, what have they achieved? So therefore, Srila Prabhupada firmly establishes that you must know God in his personal feature because you are part and parcel of God. And therefore, you have a loving relationship with him. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwaniti Shabdyate. First, you may just know about the effulgence of the Lord. Then after that, you will know his form in your heart as Paramatma. But even that is not sufficient because simply by meditation, you may see Paramatma. But when you enter into a loving relationship with Bhagavan, you offer nice food to Krishna, you dress him nicely, you offer beautiful flowers, you make garlands, you decorate his altar, you speak about his glories, you chant his names, you tell people about Krishna. What happens? Your loving relationship starts blossoming more and more and more. And as you come to know about Krishna, you start loving him more. Srila Prabhupada says, to know him is to love him. So we want everyone, come on, join the bandwagon. Don't be left out. Come on, let's all go together back home to Krishna. So devotees are interested in disseminating this knowledge. Srila Prabhupada was very lion-like when it came to establishing that Krishna is a person. He would not brook any deviation. He was very merciful. He was very tolerant of all the weirdos and crazies and doozies who joined the movement, which we still are. He's still giving us mercy. But as long as they did not introduce philosophical deviations, whatever other nonsense they did, Srila Prabhupada was tolerant. But if anyone tried to introduce atheistic principles, or impersonalist principles, or introduce philosophical deviation, Srila Prabhupada was so strict, he would say, out. You cannot do all this and destroy the movement, because this movement is to establish Krishna consciousness, and that Krishna is a person. Then Srila Prabhupada goes on to quote the other verses. Let's go down that purport a little bit, Sudha, please. He goes on to explain a little bit more. Okay, there we are.
Okay.
That in the Brahma Samhita, all these verses are explained. Brahma himself is the topmost living entity in the material world. He is known as the secondary creator because he is the one who is in charge of actually putting all the souls into the different bodies according to their past desires, and again activating this whole cycle. He is actually in charge of secondary creation. He is the secondary engineer of this universe. So he is very powerful. But even above him is Krishna. Because Brahma, Shiva, remember, even though they are very powerful demigods, they ultimately are servants of Krishna. So Krishna himself says, and these verses in the Vedic literature say, that one who knows him, one who understands him, and one who enters into a relationship with him, he can become free from the miseries of the material world. And this is very significant because all kinds of pain and difficulties and challenges and obstacles and worries and anxieties and tensions and all these things will come to us because that's the nature of this material world. We cannot escape. But by keeping our focus on the lotus feet of the Lord, by understanding I have nothing to do with this material world, really. The real me has nothing to do with this material world. I am part and parcel of Krishna, and my job while here is to develop my relationship with Krishna more and more. That's it. Everything else is incidental. You know, we will have this problem and that problem and that problem, and then it'll go on till the end. But what is significant is we are developing a consciousness of Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness, and that is our real treasure. Because, hey, in the end, you're going to be faced with death. Our problems are not going to come with us. Our acquisitions are not going to come with us. So forget all those things. Let's focus on Krishna. Let's build our loving relationship with Krishna. And then in the end, we will remember Krishna and go back to Krishna. That's the whole point, isn't it? Ante Narayana Smriti. So one should not get too caught up in the things of this world. One should keep our focus on loving devotional service to Krishna. So you might ask, what is loving devotional service to Krishna? Well, you can choose from a variety of services. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Swaranam, Padasevanam, Vandanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Of course, Sakyam and Atma Nivedana are very elevated stages where one is a very dear, confidential servitor being in the role of a friend. And then Atma Nivedanam is completely surrendering one's everything to Krishna. And those are all very, very high stages. We are just, beginning our devotional life. So we are like little kids just learning ABC, let's say, of Krishna consciousness. So it begins with hearing about Krishna, how beautiful Krishna is. The beautiful verses of Brahma Samhita. How do they explain? First thing we sing in the morning, isn't it? Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Venum Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayatакsham Arbarhavatam Sam Asitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship that primeval Lord who is adept in playing on his flute, his beautiful figure tinged with the hue of blue clouds, with a peacock feather in his hair, and his blooming lotus-like eyes. Isn't that beautiful description so capturing, so enrapturing? Just hearing how beautiful Krishna is. And then he attracts millions of cupids. Cannot compare to the beauty of Krishna. That beautiful is Krishna. In fact, beauty personified cannot stand in front of Krishna because he is beauty himself. He's more beautiful than the goddess of fortune. He's more beautiful than all the gopis. He is beauty himself. That's how beautiful Krishna is. And in this particular age, Lord Chaitanya's weapon is his beauty. His astra is his beauty. He's so beautiful that he is just attracting all the souls to him. In this form, he doesn't kill anyone, but he kills the demoniac propensities. We'll talk about that a little bit further down the line. But but beyond Brahma, there is transcendence who has no material form and is free from all material contamination. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental. Daivihi Esha Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mayam Itam. Davi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Itam Tarantite. This energy of mind, this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is very difficult to overcome. That's 714. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Simply by knowing about Krishna, the whole ocean of material existence becomes reduced to the size of a little calf's hoof print. And even a child can step over such a small puddle, isn't it? So Krishna reduces this vast ocean to something very easily surmountable for those who are devoted and serving him with love. He says this, he declares this. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So Krishna is very loving. Krishna wants us to succeed. He doesn't set us up for failure. He sets us up for success. Srila Prabhupada says this, success is guaranteed for the rigid practitioner. In the purport to chapter 6, verse number 24, you will see in the third or fourth line from the top, you will see Srila Prabhupada declares this, success is sure for the rigid practitioner. We can go there if you like. Verse number 24 of chapter number 6, Bhagavad Gita as it is. We can see over there how emphatically Srila Prabhupada is convincing us that don't worry, spirit souls, you don't have to get so anxious. What's going to happen to me? I've taken to this path of bhakti yoga. Everybody else is busy in the rat race, running after things, and I'm the only fool here in my family who's trying to become a devotee. Isn't that the story sounding familiar? Maybe some of you have this experience that you're the only or the first person in your family who's a devotee, and everybody else thinks you're a great big fool. But Srila Prabhupada is giving us a guarantee. See here, the yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there's any delay. Can you go down a little bit? More? Yes, stop. That's it. Not becoming discouraged if there's any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha nishchayat dhairyat tattat karma pravartanat sangatyagat satovrite shadbir bhakti prasidhyati. One can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. That's our nectar of instruction, Upadeshamrita. And then Srila Prabhupada gives a beautiful example of what is determination of that little sparrow who lost her eggs and challenged the ocean. The ocean didn't care a fig. Who cares for a little sparrow? And she was determined. All right, I'm going to dry you up. So with her little beak, she started saying, I'm going to empty this ocean until he gives me back my eggs. And this attempt reached the ears of Garuda, the mighty bird carrier of Vishnu, and feeling very compassionate, he came down to help his little sister. And he demanded from the ocean, come on, give the eggs. And then the ocean was very frightened and returned the eggs right away. So when we actually make an attempt to serve Krishna, Krishna becomes very pleased and helps the devotee actually. So when we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes many steps towards us. Okay, let's go back to that verse because I want to focus on the last two paragraphs, which are really important in that particular verse, which again emphasize that serving Krishna, knowing that Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, actually this should bring great relief to us. Finally, we know who is God beyond a shadow of a doubt. There's no more truth superior to me. We don't have to look any further. We have come to the topmost person, and that is Krishna. So we should, with great faith, with great confidence, and with great patience, one must prosecute this process, knowing that success is sure for the rigid practitioner. See how much guarantee Srila Prabhupada is giving us, which is not common in this material world. Who gives guarantee of anything? They all shirk from giving guarantee. On the other hand, they say, I don't know, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't, I don't know, I can't say, like that. But no, Krishna is saying, and Prabhupada is saying, you will succeed. Isn't that marvelous to know that simply by following this path, that one day, even though it may take many lifetimes, we will succeed and we will see Krishna face to face. Can we go down a little bit, Sudha, and see the last couple of paragraphs, please? I want to emphasize that how the same truth is being spoken by different, yeah, there we go. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. Janma karma chame divyam yo janati tattvataha tattva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. Krishna declares in the very early chapters, I don't remember which chapter, Janma Karma Chive, I think the 4th chapter, verse number 9, if I'm not mistaken, Krishna declares, one who knows the nature of my transcendental form and activities does not take birth again in this material world. So knowing Krishna, understanding the position of Krishna, and understanding that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we need not start worshipping each and every demigod. I will go to Shiva, I will go to Brahma, I will go to Ganesh, I will go to Parvati, I will go to Lakshmi, I will go to Saraswati. No, we don't have to waste our time doing that. In fact, Krishna doesn't want us to do that. He says men who worship demigods, they are of small intelligence because they're going to the wrong people. Demigods worship. Whatever benefits we get is temporary and is going to be lost forever. While if we worship Krishna, a spiritual bank account, it will be stored in that forever. So which is a better deal? Something that's eternally yours or something that will fade away very quickly? Obviously, it's a no-brainer. So by worshipping Krishna, the living entity actually gains the greatest benefit. There is no loss or diminution in this process of worship, and there's no truth superior to him. He's the greatest of the greatest. And he's observing everything because he's sitting in our hearts and he's hearing everything that is going on. He knows our desires even before we say them to someone because he's right there in our heart. So though he's situated silently, he knows everything and he's our best friend and well-wisher. He illumines the transcendental sky as a tree spreads its roots. He spreads his extensive energies. So people don't know who is God, but we know who is God. And we know the process of devotional service as given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And that's why Srila Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, he actually introduced the second part because, people were trying to introduce some deviations and he didn't want that. So therefore we say, Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini. You came to destroy nihilism, voidism, atheism in the Western countries, impersonalism, and establish the worship of Lord Chaitanya. And who is Lord Chaitanya? Is none other than Krishna. And he wants everybody to be joyfully engaged in the process of self-realization by chanting his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, because he has given us himself in the form of his own name, the most purifying, the most wonderful gift of love coming from the spiritual world. Golo Kera Prema Dhan Hari Nam Sankirtan. And by taking to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we are once and for all stopping the cycle of repeated birth and death, and we are beginning our journey back home, back to Krishna. Haribol! Isn't that the best news ever? And so, we want everyone to take part in this process of Sankirtan Yajna, because this is Lord Chaitanya's program. Yare dekha, tare kaha, Krishna Upadesh. So we must firmly be convinced Krishna is God. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is what he wants me to do. And once I begin to taste the sweetness of Krishna consciousness, then what do I want to do? I want to give it to others. And the more Krishna we give to others, the more Krishna we get. This is the most wonderful thing about spiritual life. If I have $500 and if I give you $300, it's gone. $300 are gone. But in Krishna consciousness, you give Krishna to others, you get more Krishna. What a deal. Can you beat this? Wonderful spiritual deal, right? Can't beat it. So Krishna consciousness is the greatest gift that has happened to humanity. Srila Prabhupada has come from the spiritual world to give all this knowledge and to take us back home, back to Godhead. And he continuously gives us the mercy. He has given a great discount to all of us, knowing how fallen we are. So at least 70% you become pure. I have the key to the back door. I'll take you back. So what more inducement we need, my dear spirit souls? We have the best chance ever for going back home once and for all, getting out of this miserable material world, which is nothing but a prison house meant to reform our nasty tendencies to lord it over material nature, to try to be the controller and the enjoyer and the proprietor and all these nasty things, which is a joke because that's just insanity. That position belongs to Krishna. Krishna is the only controller, enjoyer, proprietor, and we are nothing but servants. Unfortunately, because of our conditioning and our association with matter, it takes time for our thick brains, to get it. We still haven't got it yet. But material nature will kick us repeatedly to remind us, hey, you're not Krishna. You're just the servant of Krishna. So the faster we get it, the better for us, because then we will engage in loving service to Krishna. We will come back to our normal happy position because you're a servant. That's it. And when you engage in loving service to Krishna, what happens? You actually become happy because now you're plugged in. You're connecting like the electric wire. Once it's plugged in, then the light comes. So similarly, when we stay plugged in, then we actually become happy because we're connecting to the source of all happiness, Krishna. So we can all rejoice that Srila Prabhupada has come. He's given us the most wonderful process. There is no more superior truth than this. There is none. We have the highest philosophy. And if we grasp it with both hands, grab it tightly and engage ourselves wholeheartedly, not just dipping our little toes, but plunging fully into this ocean of nectar and giving ourselves fully to Krishna, there's no way Krishna will not reciprocate. Krishna is not an ungrateful person. He's a very loving personality and he will reciprocate. So let us take courage and let us engage in loving service to Krishna. Go back to Krishna. Thank you all for listening very, very patiently. Hare Krishna. We can open up for comments, questions, realizations.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. Very beautiful class, very enlightening class. So nicely he explained like how Krishna is a person, is absolute truth. He's everything. He's full of bliss and knowledge. So we just need to follow him, serve him. So you also mentioned about impersonalists, how they don't want to take that position to serve him. Instead, they want to merge into Brahma Jyoti. And you also mentioned how Srila Prabhupada is against all these isms. So we should understand Krishna and we should know and we should love him and we should follow him. So that's a very beautiful class. Very enthusiastically you have taken the class. It awakened really our love for Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, I'll open up for the questions. Please, if you have, feel free, if you have any questions, comments, or realizations, you can raise your hand or you can type in the chat box. I'll open up. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Anuradha Mataji, I see your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Glories to Guru Maharaj. Very beautiful lecture. I really like the point, Sridevi Mataji. I really like your point that how Prabhupada tolerates patiently everything about the devotees, disciples, but he didn't tolerate when someone was having impersonalistic view or atheistic view, and he immediately said, no, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead and you are the servant. And that was very important. This is actually the basis of Krishna consciousness movement and how we represent Krishna in ourselves. So thank you for pointing that, and how important it is for us to grasp, like you said. I like that point, how we need to grasp and not just put a little bit of ourselves to the process, but merging into the ocean of, like Nectar of Devotion described, going deeper into the Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much for that points. Thank you. Shridevi Mataji.
Thank you, my dear Anuradha. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. Yes, we want to become very firmly established in this understanding, because if we allow deviations to enter into a movement will be destroyed from within. Srila Prabhupada said this movement is very strong. Nobody from outside can destroy it. It can only be destroyed from within. So we must guard against, we all have impersonalistic tendencies and atheistic tendencies and, all bad ideas and thoughts. And so we must be very clear in our understanding, and we must move away. Mind will tell you all kinds of nonsense things, We must understand the words of the pure devotee is protecting us, and we must cling to that and hold on to that so that we will not just, be swept away by Maya. Yeah. Very important to understand this point. Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing it for us again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing those beautiful comments. Namrata Mataji, I see your hand raised. Before that, I humbly request, if possible, devotees, please turn on your cameras. It will be nice, engaging for all of us. Yeah. Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sudha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our dear Guru Maharaj. Mataji, I really like a lot of points in this lecture you made, especially when you made the reference from 6.24, and when you said this success of Srila Prabhupada, from the purport of Srila Prabhupada, he's saying that success is sure for a rigid practitioner. We many times, see rigid people around us, materialistic rigid people around us, and then especially I contemplate what is the quality. I mean, in what way rigidness should we use? I mean, it is a quality. It should be used if it should be used for some good. And there this shloka clicks, and the purport says that you want to use this quality rigidness, then use it in the bhakti itself, like being a rigid practitioner. So this is one point I really liked about the shloka from which you quoted. And I don't have a major question though, just one thing you mentioned about you should abandon the demigod worship. So we should not promote that. So can you give me some reference shlokas where this is said? Right now I'm not correct.
Yeah, I think if we go to men of small intelligence worship the demigods, but their fruits are temporary and limited. Where is that? I'm not getting the I'm not getting the, I'll find it for you. Where is that reference? Krishna himself is declaring it in the Gita, and he explains that even if they worship a demigod, I make their faith steady. He's so kind that even if you're a demigod worshipper, he allows you to worship the demigod, but he explains that whatever their fruits, they are coming from me only. You see? So why do you want to waste your time worshipping the demigods? Right? So Krishna himself is declaring that there is no need for us to waste 723. Yeah, I was thinking of 7th chapter. Verse number 23. Maybe we can go to that verse, Sudha, if you can pull it up for us. See, Krishna says, men of small intelligence worship demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Another point Krishna makes is Yanti Deva Vrita Devan Pitrin Yanti. What is the other one? I forget. Basically, he's saying that those who worship the demigods will go to planets of demigods. Those who worship the ancestors will go to the planets of the ancestors. But those who worship me will come back to me. So he's saying that whatever benefits you get from the demigods is going to end with this particular phase, because once the dissolution happens, the demigods are also annihilated along with you. And all the fruits that they have given is also going to be annihilated. And back again, you have to begin your next birth with nothing. You're starting from scratch all over again. So why do you want to waste your time like that? Why don't you come back to me? See here. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So Krishna is assuring you ultimately, meaning he knows that we may not be able to make it in one lifetime. So ultimately we will reach. That means we will accrue whatever spiritual merits we have gained. We will never lose that. It will keep building up, building up, building up until we are ready to go back to Godhead. Does that help?
Yes, Mataji. Actually, I needed this. I was finding this verse actually because I have many times, 3-4 times I have come across some people, you don't want to give them unnecessary arguments, but you want to defend sometimes, for what you are practicing. So this shloka will help me. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
There's another shloka, which is Yanti Deva Vrita Devan. That's the first line. I forget the rest of it. I used to remember it for my Bhakti Shastri, but now I've forgotten. Maybe I can pull that up also for you. That also, there also, Krishna is explaining that if you worship ancestors, you'll go to Yanti. One second, okay? I'll pull it up for you and then that way we will have. Yeah. Which verse is that? 925. If you look at verse number 9, 25 in Bhagavad Gita, that also explains where Krishna is explaining that where your worship is, you will go there. If you want to worship, there are people, believe me, there are people on their altar, they put all pictures of their ancestors. And they worship them. And they actually worship them. So if your meditation is upon your great-great-grandfather, your great-great-grandmother, you will go to where your ancestors have gone. Is that where you want to go? Because you will again take birth. You will again have to come into this material world of miseries. So it's not very intelligent to do all this. So Krishna doesn't want us to waste our time. See here. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among demigods. Those who worship ancestors will go to the ancestors. But those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. But those who worship me will live with me. So you see how clearly Krishna is establishing. You look at verses 720 to 724 in the Bhagavad Gita. That will take you through all these various arguments about demigod worship.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. That quite helps me a lot. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Nice question. Because it's very prominent in India,
Yes,
Okay.
that is why I asked you especially, because this in India, demigod worship is surrounded everywhere actually. So you need to defend.
So Devanand Pandit is also recommending verse 246. So you might want to take a look at that too. Sudha, you want to check that one also so that everybody else can also take advantage of
Sure, Mataji, I'll share it.
our Pandit ji. 246.
Sorry, my mouse is not working, so I'm using my fingers. So it's taking a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. 2.46, Mataji.
Yes, all purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So Krishna is like the great reservoir. Why we need to go and look for small puddles of water? Let's go to the big reservoir. Good one. Thank you.
Should I stop sharing, Mataji?
Yes, please.
Okay.
My humble obeisance is to you, Namrata. All glories to Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev.
Thank you, Mataji. Prabhuji, Devanand Pandit Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, please humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Gurudeva. All
Hare
glories
Krishna, please accept mine, my glorious God brother. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, and all glories to you, holding the fort there. Please go ahead.
First, the verse 624 fits on you very much, very much. This is your... my question is, I heard from one Christian preacher such sentence: tolerate each other because Jesus tolerates us. Can we say that Krishna tolerates us?
Of course, Krishna is tolerating us. He's tolerating us all the time. And Srila Prabhupada is tolerating us all the time. Guru Maharaj is tolerating us all the time. Otherwise, how are we surviving in bhakti without their tolerance and their patience? Srila Prabhupada actually said, yes, if I had to tell you everything, you will faint. About Krishna, about deity worship, about the process of devotional service. At another point, Srila Prabhupada said, I am 80% lenient. I'm 80% lenient with you.
Lenient.
Can you imagine? Lenient. Lenient means very liberal, very generous, overlooking all our faults, overlooking all our mistakes. That's called lenient. Strict means, no, must do like this, must do like that. So Srila Prabhupada says, I'm 80% lenient with you all. So can you imagine how much compassion, how much mercy Prabhupada is giving us? So Krishna is very merciful, very compassionate, very tolerant, very patient. And he gives us chance after chance after chance, lifetime after lifetime to come back to him.
Love and toleration are the same or different? Love and
tolerance is a feature of love. If we love someone, then we are very patient and very tolerant. We're very compassionate. We're very caring. We overlook their offenses. We overlook their mistakes. We give them a lot of concession. It's a feature of love. It's not the same as love. It's a feature of love.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you, dear brother.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that question. Any questions, any more questions, devotees, comments or any realizations on today's class? Mataji, I just have a question, not a question, just a clarification about like impersonalism. So impersonalism is like they meditate on the effulgence of Lord, right? So they believe in God, but they don't believe in the personal form of the God. they just believe like Lord is formless, right? So, so atheism is like they don't believe in God only. They are completely, right?
No, they don't believe that God has a spiritual form. They say he has taken a form to appear in this material world, which is a material form. And actually he's formless, and actually he is that impersonal Brahmajyoti. So they refuse to believe that he has an actual spiritual form.
Impersonalist.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why their preference is to merge in the Brahmajyoti. The impersonalists, they don't want to engage in bhakti. They're actually frightened because they are so fed up of the miseries of this material world. So, they want to actually get rid of the form. So they want to merge into the formless as a way to get rid of their miseries, of their problems, and so on. They don't realize there's a positive alternative in the form of loving devotion called bhakti.
Okay.
They don't realize that, they don't understand that, and sometimes it even frightens them.
Okay, Mataji. Yeah, I really got that point which you mentioned. Whatever material challenges they have, they don't want to accept that. Instead, they just want to meditate and merge into
That's why they perform severe austerities and penances. So sometimes they become very hard-hearted. They become very hard-hearted. They don't have soft hearts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I always I hear that, but I think today I understood actually, because why they don't want to serve is because they don't want to accept their challenges. Instead, they just want to give up and they just want to meditate and get relief from all these challenges.
Right, exactly. You got it. They want relief from the material miseries, and they don't realize that there is actually a better way than just getting relief and merging into the Brahma Jyoti. It is to actually engage in loving bhakti. Then the miseries no longer affect us so much. They're there, but they don't bother us so much. And they don't get that. You have to have a lot of pious credits even to understand bhakti. They are also transcendentalists, but they shoot for Brahma realization.
Brahma realization. So Mataji, from there, will they
they will keep coming down. They will take birth again. Then they will again try for Brahma. They'll keep doing this up and down yo-yo business until they receive the mercy of the pure devotee, or they have some realizations by the mercy of the pure devotee. That is why the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee is so valuable, because it will release us from all these cycles of birth and death in useless endeavors.
Yes.
You see? So we are very blessed. We are very fortunate that we have escaped all this other nonsensical, not nonsense, because they are also transcendentalists. We don't say nonsense, but it is not an intelligent endeavor, because it only results in a repeated birth.
Yes, Mataji, very true. I like the last point which you mentioned. When you surrender to Krishna, we will get relief from all these material miseries. I mean, when we engage in Bhakti Yoga, automatically we can see that we'll be relieved. And impersonalists, they don't understand that.
They don't get it. They fight actually. Some of them actually fight with us. So that is why Srila Prabhupada was very strong on this point, to establish that Krishna is a person, you are a person, and you engage in loving service to him. Then your soul will be completely happy.
Very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very nice questions.
Namrata Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I just want a little follow-up from Sudha Mataji's question. So impersonalist, when they try to, mostly I see that definitely their philosophy is not an intelligent take, but they do raise up to certain extent to a sattva level. So they try this meditation and they reach to a peaceful state. If they are, they are not accepting the challenges, they are not how can they, is this peaceful state temporary for them?
Yes, it doesn't have any strong permanent basis. It doesn't last. And so therefore, even when they merge into the Brahma Jyoti, there is no relationship, there is no activity. The soul cannot live like that. The soul requires to give love and receive love. The soul requires to give service and be in relationship. So therefore, that position cannot be maintained. And so they fall down again to the material world.
So then how do they attain this level of peace or stage of peace? How do they attain by that?
Because of the austerities, because they perform severe austerities and penances, focusing on the Paramatma within, they shut out all those different yogas that they do is just to shut out everything else, and they control their mind and senses, and they focus on Paramatma realization. And so they perform very severe austerities. It's a very troublesome process actually. Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita himself. It's a very troublesome process. They do so. They are actually after God. They are also after God. That's so they are transcendentalists, but they do so in a very troublesome way, which causes great trouble to their bodies and minds. And sometimes, like I said, because it is all austerity, penance, there's no ananda. It is such and chid, but there is no ananda. The ananda feature is missing. So sometimes they're very hard-hearted and cruel people because they have subjected themselves to so much hardships that they have no compassion or gentleness or softness or kindness. So they're like, it's like torturing yourself, so much to get to the Brahma Jyoti. And so then, you don't have much nice feelings for anyone because you've tortured yourself so much to get there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So now I get the temporariness of their peace. Okay, thank you.
And anytime you want to, please feel free to check with Guru Maharaj everything, because he is, of course, the last word on the subject. So, some of my answers may not be very satisfying. So please feel free to check in with Gurudev also.
Okay. I think somehow there is no need as so far because you give a convincing answer. But if such a topic is raised, we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Prabhuji, Devanand Prabhuji, please go ahead. You have any question?
Hare Krishna. Dear Mataji, did you heard this name Nama Prabhu? Can you say in few words who is he? Is he a person?
Say that. What's the question again?
Did you heard such name Nama Prabhu?
Yeah, Nama Prabhu is the person Krishna. In the name Nam Prabhu and Krishna is the same because the name is non-different from Krishna. So when you say Nam Prabhu, it means Lord Chaitanya or Lord Krishna. Same, non-different.
Such name is other Krishna's name.
Nam Prabhu means Krishna and Krishna's name, and non-different. Krishna's name and Krishna are the same. Krishna and Krishna's name are the same because they are non-different from each other. So when we say Nam Prabhu, it means Lord Chaitanya, it means Krishna.
When someone says Nama Prabhu, I can imagine Lord Chaitanya in his form, in his rupa.
Wonderful. Yes, meditate on the form of Lord Chaitanya because he is actually, he is giving the name, he is the name, he is distributing the name, he is glorifying the name, he is singing the name, he is doing everything to teach us that he and his name are non-different. So it's very wonderful to meditate on Lord Chaitanya. Wow. I wish I could meditate like that. Beautiful meditation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Mataji, I see your hand raised. Namrata Mataji, you have any further clarification?
No, sorry. I just forgot to lower my hand. Sorry for that.
No problem. Yeah, it's 1 hour past, Mataji. It's 11 minutes. I don't see any questions. Should we end the class here? Okay, thank you so much, Mataji, for such a wonderful and power-packed class. Look forward for your association again. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you so much. Vancha kalpa tarubhesha kripa sindhu
Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I'm so grateful for my God family, for each and every one of you, and I pray that someday we will all be singing and dancing together with Krishna in the spiritual world. Gauranga, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Mataji, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Her Grace Sridev Mataji ki jai, Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai
jai.
Guru Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sadhu Sangha ki jai, our wonderful God family ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol. Hare Krishna.
Bol.
Thank you very much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Should
Thank
we
you very
end
much,
the class,
Mataji.
Mataji? Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Should we end the class, Mataji?
Mataji. Hari
Okay.
Bol.
Yes.
Okay.